This video has been made with the help of Envato Elements. What is toxic independence? What if I were to tell you that Avatar: The Last Airbender has an episode that perfectly tackles this exact topic? And I am aware that this may sound paradoxical to many of you. After all, independence is always portrayed as a good thing. Nobody likes an overly dependent person who can't take care of themselves. Instead, we look up to and admire people who seem to have done it all by themselves. People who seem to excel at everything they try their hand on. And even I myself am a very independence-loving person. I moved out of my mom's place while I was still studying and made sure to get a real job as quickly as I could to be able to finally take care of myself. But even so, I can see the potential problems that aiming towards total independence can cause. And if you're still hesitant to entertain this idea, let me take you with me to an experience that may just open your eyes. And now, close them. Make sure that you can't see anything. I'll have to ask you now. All the colors you just saw a second ago, do you still remember them? You probably do. But the more time passes, the blurrier they become. You know exactly how the world around you looks like, but you're slowly starting to feel insecure. You move your arms around frantically to try and understand where everything is, but you're still just getting more and more anxious. And then, you start losing your bearings completely and become entirely dependent on the people around you. People whose help constantly reminds you of how hopeless and helpless you are. And so, all you want to do and all you wish for is to simply open up your eyes again and to be able to see again. And thankfully, you can do that now. But what if you couldn't? What if you were stuck being blind for your entire life? What if you were constantly reminded by your parents of how helpless you are? Well, that's probably exactly what Toph felt like during her entire childhood. And needless to say, a huge amount of insecurity and self-doubt arose from it. Feelings that led Toph to want to disprove everyone who doubted her, and also feelings that came to a climax in the Book 2 episode called The Chase.
Ever since you joined us, you've been nothing but selfish and unhelpful.
What? Look here, Sugar Queen. I gave up everything I had so that I could teach Aang earthbending. So don't you talk to me about being selfish.
The chase starts off with the gang setting up camp after a long ride on Appa. They find a good spot and get to work right away, everyone doing their part. Well, everyone but Toph, who is simply minding her own business and refuses to help out. Because in her eyes, she's already set. She's carrying her own weight, collects her own food and sets up her own tent. She doesn't need anyone's help, and so she doesn't see why she should help others either. But Katara doesn't take this lightly, and so she gets pretty annoyed at Toph. Though in the end, they decide to leave things where they are and go to sleep. But then suddenly, Toph is woken up by the vibrations of something big, something that is headed right towards them, and so to be on the safe side, they pack their things and leave on Appa. And then when they land, Katara and Toph have the same discussion once again. Katara demanding of Toph to help out since she's part of the team as well, and Toph refusing to help since she takes care of all her stuff on her own, so the least she expects is for everyone else to take care of their own problems as well. And given the lack of sleep, the discussion escalates more than last time, but eventually they simply calm down and try to go to sleep again. But before they even get a chance, Toph can feel the same vibrations once again. Whatever it is, it's clearly following them and the gang is starting to get annoyed. They then fly away, but this cycle just repeats itself once again. Aang has had enough, and so he decides to face them head on. But once the hatch opens, it turns out to be Azula, the vicious and outright maniacal daughter of the Fire Lord. They get into a short fight before our protagonist then decides to escape from Azula and the other girls, but Appa is reaching his limits. He's been flying for the entire night, and therefore the gang almost dies when he suddenly falls asleep mid-air. They can't bear it anymore. They've had no sleep and they're being chased by a group of bloodthirsty villains. And then to top it off, Katara and Toph are at each other's throats once again. They are throwing around the blame for Azula always finding them, and eventually, Toph even shifts the blame onto Appa because his shedding is leaving a clear trail to follow. And needless to say, Aang then goes ballistic.
If there's anyone to blame, it's you! You're always talking about how you carry your own weight, but you're not. He is! Appa's carrying your weight. He never had a problem flying when it was just the three of us!
After an intense night of arguing, the gang splits up. And while Aang, Katara and Sokka try to derive a plan to outwit Azula, I think we should focus our attention on Toph. Because while many may assume that she left the gang because she got offended and angry at them, I think the real reason for her leaving was because of what Aang said. He pointed out to her that while she claims to be this incredibly independent woman, she still relies on Appa to fly her away from danger and carry her around when needed. It's a truth that reveals that she's still dependent on others, and since she didn't want to face reality, she simply walked away. Some time passes and then she meets Uncle Iroh. They share a cup of tea and talk about their lives, but Toph seems demoralized at first. She claims that Iroh thinks that she can't handle herself and tries to justify her claim by pointing out that he wouldn't even let her pour her own cup of tea. But Iroh then says that the only reason he poured her tea was because he wanted to and nothing else. He did it because he wanted to help, and not because he thought she was in need of help. Iroh then proceeds to give her some incredibly good advice and wraps it up with one simple quote. There is nothing wrong with letting people who love you help you.
People see me and think I'm weak. They want to take care of me. But I can take care of myself by myself.
There is nothing wrong with letting people who love you help you. Not that I love you. I just met you.
Toph appreciates the advice and makes the most use of it. She realized in that moment that people who help you don't always do it because they pity you. She probably went through life assuming that everyone thought like her parents, that whenever someone saw her, they thought less of her and felt sorry for her because of it. An assumption that deep down made her more insecure about herself than she would ever like to admit. But I do understand Toph. She wants to prove her parents wrong. She wants to prove that she doesn't need any help whatsoever. And so, the last thing she wants to do is to show even more vulnerability by asking for help. But this mindset will only work against her. She'll come off as weak for clearly trying to prove something pointless, and then she'll come off as arrogant for not seeing the true value of help and in turn, never giving help back. And eventually, she will simply end up all alone because of it. And nowadays, many of us run the risk of going down the same path. We run the risk of rejecting help and of getting insulted by it. And why? Well, all of it just because we want to be so incredibly independent. And don't get me wrong here, independence is amazing. It's a great feat to have, but if you're aiming towards total independence, you're actually aiming towards toxic independence. Because the truth is that no one, no man and no woman will ever be completely independent from everyone else. We will always have people to rely on to help us out with something, because in the end, although it is true that you can't do anything, it's also true that you cannot do everything. So allow yourself to be vulnerable and welcome the help you get. Welcome all the love that comes with it. Don't ever think that you are above someone else's support. You're not. None of us are. We all have areas where we excel in and areas where we suck at. Try and swallow your pride and accept the help others are willing to give. And how do you do that, you may wonder? Well, it's simple really. Just go out there and help the people you love. Give them all the help they need and all the help you're willing to give. And then you'll soon realize the beautiful experience that comes from helping others. You'll start noticing why others are so willing to help you as well. And this in turn will allow you to see that it's not pity that often leads to help, but rather love. And it's this love that you can embrace as well. It's this love that will make you realize something that an old English poet realized as well. The fact that no man is an island. And it's with this insight that you'll be able to leave behind toxic independence and be able to embrace true independence. The type of independence that allows you to not be a burden on others, but also the type that still allows you to accept help from them. The type of independence that will promote the best version you can possibly become, because you can only achieve true greatness when you're surrounded by people who love you. People who like to help you because they love you. People who allow you to become independent. Avoid toxic independence and pursue true transcendence. One last thing, just quickly. When it comes to help and true independence, today's sponsor Envato Elements is a perfect match for this topic, because videos like the ones I make would be basically impossible for me to produce on my own. So make sure to use a link in the description to check them out and also support the channel. But what even is Envato Elements? It's an unlimited subscription service for digital assets. They offer everything from stock footage, sound effects, music, photos, graphics, fonts, and even video templates like the ones you see on screen right now. And with over 56 million assets and unlimited downloads, you cannot imagine how much time I've spent going through their vast and extensive library. I would really suggest to everyone who's interested in creating videos like mine, or if you make your own videos, music and more, to go check them out in the description. It's an incredibly cheap service with amazing quality assets, and I'm incredibly glad to be working with them. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe and check out one of my previous videos right here. This channel is all about digging deeper into the meaning of life and how we can get there through video games, movies and TV shows. So if that interests you, make sure to subscribe and share it with the people you love. See ya!